Hello, I'm Jerry Tachoir. Welcome to Season 2, Episode 16 of Ask Jerry Tachoir. I first of all would like to invite you, if you wish to ask me a question, simply go to my website, which is www.tachoir.com. In the upper right-hand corner, there's a little contact tab. Click on that, fill out the information, ask your question, and hopefully I'll get back to you, or we'll do one of these videos. Today's video is going to be a little bit different. Throughout my career, and I've been with the Ludwig Musser company as one of their artists. Next year it'll be 50 years in March. I was signed when I was a junior in high school. And for the longest time, I've always asked Musser to finish the vibraphone. The world of F to F, just seemed, it didn't make a lot of sense to me. It was always, you'd have a nice line developing and you hit that F and you at least wish you had an E. But anyway, I was after them for over 30 years to finish the instrument. So this question comes from Tom in Pennsylvania, and Pennsylvania happens to be the state that I was born in. Hello, Jerry. Thanks for offering the many vibraphone videos. They have truly kept me motivated and solved a lot of my issues. I've attended many of your clinics, and each time I've always come away completely inspired and excited to get to my instrument. I've heard you say a number of times how you wish the vibraphone manufacturers would finish the instrument and extend the range down to C. Again, that's been going on for over 30 years. Could you talk more about this and how you think it will enhance your playing? Thanks again for all that you do in promoting the vibraphone, and your information is essential. Best, Tom in Pennsylvania. So there you go. People are aware that I guess I've been a proponent of completing the instrument. And I know I'm not the only one. I remember going to see Mike Maneri talk about the exact issue, and his comment was something like, the world of F really does suck. But let me move on. So, EDC is all I'm asking for. Finish the instrument so that we have a little bit more room, a little bit more bass notes that we could use, and it just makes sense. When I first got onto an instrument that was extended, I remember I didn't particularly care for the sound of this instrument at the time. This was quite a long time ago. But just by having those extra 3 notes, the instrument felt so natural to me, and it just made a lot of sense. It wasn't confusing at all. Automatically, I just knew that those notes were there, and when I was playing, it just felt natural. So again, I've been after these manufacturers. Again, I've been with everybody who's ever come through Musser knows that I've been the guy that said, let's finish the instrument, let's work on it. And the reason they keep getting back to me, he says, well, we can't find a way to tune the bottom 3 notes that make them sound like they're part of the instrument, that you really hear the fundamental. And I'm going to give you 2 examples. I have 2 instruments here today. I have this instrument, which was provided by the Pearl Company here in Nashville, and I'd like to thank Sean LaFrenz for bringing it by and setting it up and letting me borrow it for this demonstration. And this is an instrument that's made by Adams in Holland, and it has the extra 3 notes plus the sharps and flats down to C. And I also have a Yamaha instrument, which I'll play later as an instrument that I actually owned. And the story behind that is that I had a student who was in his 80s, and he would come every week and he would take a lesson with me. And then he knew that I was always talking about, I wish I had an extended range, I wish it would go down to C. And he asked me one day, he says, well, does any of the companies make an instrument like it? And I said, well, I'm aware that Yamaha came out with one. And he says, I'm going to buy it for you. I said, no, don't buy it for me. I'm a Musser artist. I can't use it. So anyway, he bought it. He brought it by the house, and I played it a little bit. The sound was a little weird on those 3 notes, but by just having those notes just seemed to open up musical ideas that I really never had before, or actually ideas that I had before, but I knew I couldn't play. Unfortunately, my student was killed in a tragic car accident, and I bought the instrument to help the family out. So I do own this instrument. And again, I love having that extended range, but that particular instrument doesn't sound that great on the bottom 3 notes. And I know each instrument's going to sound a little bit different. Some are going to have a better fundamental than others. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play a tune on both instruments so you can hear the difference. And I'll talk about a little bit of what I expect to do with these instruments and how they have opened up my playing and made things a little bit easier for me. So again, let's get into this and see how it develops. And please, if you want to ask me a question, again, go to my website and fill out the form, and we'll get involved, and hope that helps. Here we go. So when I'm playing as a soloist, meaning me by myself, it's nice to be able to have the extended range, the more notes. It gives me the ability then to support myself harmonically and create better bass lines without having the restrictions of always having to stop at F. Those 3 notes are just the magical number to make sure that you can do what you need to do on this instrument. And let me give you an example. Here's a tune. I'll just improvise a little bit off of the changes for Stella so you can see what I'm doing. My left hand is kind of going to play like a bass line. It'll come up and it'll support my right hand, but here it goes. Now this particular instrument actually sounds pretty good on the lower three notes. Let me just start from like A, G, F, E, D. The D's got a little bit of a zing to it, and again, it's going to change from instrument to instrument. The C, again, you hear the fundamental pretty well. There is a little harmonic thing going on. Now there's a guy in Holland, his name is Nico van der Plas, who basically just went out of business, but I understood that he figured out a way to tune the bottom three notes, and he said it had to do with a softer aluminum alloy. And I told all the companies, as I told Musser, try this, this might be an option. And I don't really know for sure if it works yet or not, but he seemed to be able to get a good sound out of those three notes. So here's, okay, and I'll do the same thing on the Yamaha, and you can hear it. Again, it's not entirely perfect in terms of what you expect to hear from the fundamental, but by just having those three notes opens up the world in this instrument. Now, one of the problems, again, the instrument's bigger. Bigger means heavier, and heavier is something that us musicians, especially as we get a little older, aren't really too excited about. So we have to figure out ways to help out, to lighten the load, to make the instrument so that we could actually get to the gig easier, not kill ourselves. This particular instrument, this Adams, the actual frames, the rails that are part of the frame, they all actually come out. And again, like the other instruments, the resonators, they pick up. They're all one-piece resonators. They don't break in half or anything. And to be honest with you, the resonators on this particular instrument, being that they're decorative and arched and they look nice, are very, very heavy. I understand that the Adams company just came out with a new frame. I haven't seen it yet. I haven't played on it yet. But maybe this is addressing some of these issues we're talking about. But this particular instrument is extremely heavy, and this is probably not the instrument that I would take on a day-to-day job. I think it would kill me. But at the same time, having those three notes, there's going to be a little bit more heft to an instrument. That's just the physics. You know, if you're going to have something bigger, it's going to weigh more. The Yamaha, on the other hand, the resonators on the front aren't decorative. They're like straight up, and they don't have that arched effect on them. And also the resonators where there are no notes on the sharps and flats, these spaces here, the Yamaha doesn't actually have a resonator. So they're doing their best to try to lighten the load, and for that I do appreciate it. So we'll talk about the Yamaha instrument, and I'll play that same tune again, and we'll talk a little bit more about it. But again, I want to thank Adams and Pearl for making this available to me. I wish I had some of the other companies that make an extended range instrument to give it a fair shakeout. But unfortunately, I'm narrowing it down to these two right now, and hopefully in the future, maybe that'll be something. And maybe, hopefully, I've been told on the back burner at Musser, this is something that maybe in the next couple months there may be a prototype developing. Who knows? I mean, they've been telling me that for quite a long time, and again, I've been pushing and pushing. Hopefully it'll get done. So let me pull in the Yamaha instrument and we'll go through and talk about that one. But thank you so much. Okay, so here I have the Yamaha instrument, and I'm going to attempt to play pretty much the same thing that I did on the Adams instrument, so you can kind of compare the sounds. Again, the bottom three notes, let me start at the A again. I'm not sure if you can hear that well, but it is a lot pingier. In other words, the fundamental of the bottom three notes aren't as obvious as they are on the Adams instrument. But again, having those three notes there, to me, just finishes the instrument and just makes so much sense. So let me go ahead and play that same tune. So here's the other little improvisation that I was going to show you. All right, so that's the Yamaha. Again, you can hear a little bit more of the pinging on the bottom 3 notes. And again, this is probably different for each instrument and how they're manufactured and how the aluminum is extruded. So you can't just take one instrument and say, yeah, this is Yamaha, all of them are bad. Again, it's just a matter of each individual instrument. Now, I love the extended range. This is really the instrument that I want to play forever. I love the fact that I could be expressive and utilize. I mean, there are some disadvantages. The instrument is bigger and it's wider, which means you have to be able to move a little bit more. Now, fortunately, I really don't care that much for the extreme end of the vibraphone, which is why I don't really want to extend it to 4 octaves. I don't want to go beyond this F. Those kind of last 3 notes are like sort of colors that I will use maybe at the end of a tune, bling, to give it a little finesse. But really, those notes up there are not my favorite. I really like the warmth of the middle to the low end of the instrument. I find that that's where I generally want to be, and then I find that the instrument really has a warm, pretty sound. So again, you're going to be doing a lot of moving back and forth, and you have to have your foot on the pedal, so you have to make sure you have a bigger pedal so that you can make sure you get around without having to fall and trip and kill yourself. So there's disadvantages. Again, the weight is an issue, the size is an issue. Now, when you have an instrument that's bigger, and when you have the dampener bar, so the dampener bar, if it gets slightly wonky, where it's like bent one way or another, then you have to constantly be adjusting to get a really good balance of how the notes ring, make sure that the high end is ringing at the same rate that the low end. And a lot of times that's a little complicated right before a performance to make sure your instrument is adjusted properly. The Adams instrument has a couple special things where you can take the given Allen wrench that's like tucked into the frame, and you could actually adjust the height of one end or the other end or both ends of the dampener bar, and also the number, I guess it's the number 3 rail, the second one in from you, that has also the ability to go up and down. Now, it's kind of nice to be able to have that adjustment. At the same time, I could see where it could be a little bit convoluted and trying to always minutely adjust things to get everything working. But again, when you have a bigger instrument, the dampener mechanism is going to be the challenge to keep it uniformly able to dampen all the notes that you want dampened. So again, maybe the solution would be some sort of a gel dampening pad that would kind of adjust itself automatically to different heights of the bars. And that would be something, actually that's something that I have on my regular 3-octave instruments that works really well. And it also quiets a lot of the mechanical sounds of the vibraphone. So anyway, that's the concept on extended range instruments. And again, I hope the Muster Company can come out with one soon, and I hope this kind of becomes the standard. Again, the 4-octave thing up to the C on the high end is something that I don't think I would ever use, ever want, or ever want to carry. But these bottom 3 notes just allow you, especially as a solo artist, to be able to get a fuller sound, get better bass notes. Even when you're supporting other musicians, just the ability to play bigger chords with lower notes just sounds so much fuller, and it really, really works. So something to consider. Again, hopefully this will happen and we can perfect those 3 notes and get the tunings on it. Again, please ask me some questions. I look forward to hearing from you, and thank you so much. I hope this you find this of vital information and something that you can use. Thank you so much.